Imagine waking up in a world without a kitchen faucet. There are no water bottles, filters, pipes, or purification tablets. The nearest river might be several miles away. It could also contain mud, parasites, waste, or a dead animal. Yet refusing to drink is not an option. Your body can survive hunger far longer than severe dehydration, so every day begins with one urgent question: where can you find water that will not kill you? Ancient humans faced this problem for thousands of generations. They crossed grasslands, forests, deserts, mountains, and frozen landscapes. Many of those environments offered water only during certain seasons. Some sources appeared safe but carried invisible dangers. Others disappeared completely when the climate changed. Still, our ancestors survived and spread across the planet. So how did they live without modern clean water? The first truth is that they did not always have clean water, at least not by the standards we use today. They had no laboratories for detecting bacteria or dangerous chemicals. They also belonged to many species, cultures, places, and periods. There was never one universal ancient method of finding water. Instead, different groups developed solutions suited to their environments. Some depended on rivers, lakes, springs, or seasonal wetlands. Others collected rain or obtained moisture from the food they ate. Later communities dug wells and constructed systems for storing water. But every solution began with careful observation of the landscape. Water leaves clues even when it cannot be seen. Green vegetation may reveal moisture beneath otherwise dry ground. Insects gathering at sunset can suggest a nearby pool. Flocks of birds may travel between feeding places and water. Animal tracks can also lead toward rivers, springs, or muddy depressions. However, following animals was never a perfect survival trick. Animals can drink from sources that remain dangerous to humans. Their tracks might also lead toward predators instead of water. Ancient people needed knowledge more reliable than a single clue. That knowledge came from repeated experience shared within the group. Older members could remember which springs survived past droughts. Hunters learned how rivers changed during different seasons. Gatherers knew which valleys held edible and moisture-rich plants. Children absorbed this information by watching and traveling with adults. In this way, geography became a living map carried in memory. A forgotten spring could mean death during a long journey. A remembered one could keep an entire group alive. Natural springs were especially valuable because water emerged from underground. Soil and rock could remove some sediment before it surfaced. This sometimes made spring water clearer than nearby surface water. But clear water was not automatically safe water. Springs could still contain microbes, minerals, or contamination from animals. Ancient humans could not see those threats directly. They could only judge what their senses and experience revealed. Water with a foul smell was an obvious warning. Strange colors, dead animals, or thick algae offered other warnings. Stagnant pools were often less attractive than recently flowing sources, yet the idea that moving water is always safe is false. A fast stream can still carry contamination from farther upstream. Ancient people probably learned this lesson through painful experience. If several people became sick after drinking somewhere, memories formed. That source might then be avoided or used only reluctantly. Survival knowledge was built from successful choices and tragic mistakes. Choosing where to live made the problem much easier. Many camps were established near dependable sources of fresh water. Rivers provided drinking water alongside fish, plants, and visiting animals. Lakes and wetlands created similarly rich places for finding food. Archaeological sites therefore often cluster near ancient water systems. But living beside water also created new dangers. Predators visited the same places because they needed to drink. Floods could destroy shelters and wash away stored supplies. Mosquitoes and other disease carriers multiplied near standing water. Human waste could contaminate a source used by the whole group. The best location was not always directly beside the shore. A safer camp might stand nearby on higher, drier ground. People could reach the water without sleeping inside a flood zone. They could also watch for animals approaching the same source. Mobility offered another powerful answer to water scarcity. Many hunter-gatherers moved as local conditions changed. They did not wait indefinitely beside an empty river. They followed seasonal resources across familiar territories. Rainfall could transform a dry landscape for a limited time. Temporary pools appeared, plants grew, and animals returned. When those resources declined, people moved toward more dependable water. This flexibility helped populations survive major climatic changes. Groundwater-fed springs may have remained available during severe dry periods. Researchers describe some of these locations as hydro-refugia. They may have supported survival and movement through harsh environments. In other words, hidden water helped shape human migration, but reaching water was only half of the challenge. People also needed to carry it away from the source. A pair of human hands can transport almost nothing. Organic containers offered a simple but extremely important solution. Animal skins could potentially be shaped into flexible water bags. Gourds, bark, wood, and woven materials offered other possibilities. Large shells could hold smaller quantities near a camp. In southern Africa, ostrich eggshells became useful water containers. Their hard shells were portable, durable, and could be sealed. Several containers could support travel through a dry landscape. Unfortunately, most early water containers would decay over time. This creates a major gap in the archaeological record. Absence of preserved containers does not prove they never existed. It means archaeologists must avoid pretending certainty where evidence is limited. Carrying water expanded the distance humans could travel from rivers. It also allowed groups to return to temporary camps. Water could be collected when a source was available. Some of it could then be stored for later use. Storage, however, introduced another hidden problem. Water inside a dirty container could become contaminated. Warm temperatures could make that problem even worse. Cleaning and drying containers would therefore provide an advantage. We cannot know exactly how consistently early groups did this, but communities could observe when certain practices reduced sickness. Rain offered another source that was sometimes safer than surface water. People could drink it directly during a storm. They could also catch runoff using natural hollows or containers. Rock depressions sometimes retained water after the rain ended. Tree hollows and leaves could hold smaller amounts. Once again, stored rainwater was not guaranteed to remain safe. Animals, insects, and debris could quickly enter an open pool. In cold regions, snow and ice offered abundant frozen water, but eating large amounts of snow could cool the body dangerously. Melting it near a fire was safer when fuel was available. It also required time and valuable energy. Ancient survival was always a negotiation between different costs. Fire eventually created a powerful method of improving water safety. Heating water can destroy many organisms that cause disease. Ancient people did not need germ theory to notice its benefits. They only needed to observe that heated liquids caused fewer problems. However, the earliest date of deliberate water boiling remains uncertain. Early containers could not simply be placed over flames like metal pots. Some organic containers would burn, leak, or lose their shape. One solution was to heat stones inside a fire. The hot stones could then be placed into a water-filled container. Repeating the process could raise the water to a boil. Woven baskets, wooden vessels, or hides could potentially hold the water. Experimental and ethnographic evidence shows that this method can work. Archaeology confirms stone boiling in a number of later contexts, but it cannot prove that every ancient group used it. Pottery eventually made direct heating and boiling much more convenient. Ceramic vessels appeared at different times in different parts of the world. Even then, people may have boiled water mainly while cooking. Soups and stews combined hydration, nutrition, and heat in one meal. Cooking could unintentionally make some water safer to consume. This protection would have existed without anyone understanding microbes. Simple filtering may also have improved unpleasant water. Cloth, grass, sand, or settled sediment can remove visible particles. Letting muddy water stand allows heavier material to sink. Pouring off the clearer layer makes it more appealing. But clearer water is not necessarily free from disease. Basic filtration cannot reliably remove every dangerous microorganism. This distinction is often missing from romantic survival stories. Ancient humans were skilled, but they were not magically protected. Their immune systems did not make dirty water harmless. They suffered from parasites, infections, diarrhea, and dehydration. Infants and weakened adults would have faced especially high risks. Some people undoubtedly died because a water source was contaminated. Survival does not mean every individual survived. It means enough people survived to continue the population. Food itself provided another important portion of their water. Fruits, roots, leaves, meat, and other tissues naturally contain moisture. In wet environments, this reduced dependence on constant direct drinking. In dry environments, certain plants could become emergency water sources, but identifying useful plants required detailed local knowledge. Cutting the wrong plant could waste energy or cause poisoning. Blood and raw animal fluids are sometimes exaggerated as easy solutions. They can carry pathogens and are not dependable substitutes for water. There was no single secret liquid that solved every crisis. Reliable survival depended on combining many small strategies. People observed landscapes, remembered seasons, and followed dependable sources. They carried water, collected rain, ate moisture-rich foods, and moved frequently. When possible, they used fire and containers to heat liquids. Over time, some communities began altering the landscape itself. Early farmers dug wells to reach groundwater beneath their settlements. Preserved Neolithic wells demonstrate surprisingly advanced woodworking and planning. Wells reduced dependence on rivers and unpredictable surface pools. Yet they also required labor, maintenance, and protection from contamination. As settlements grew, water management became a community responsibility. The daily search for water gradually became organized infrastructure. That transformation eventually produced reservoirs, channels, pipes, and modern treatment. But the foundation was built long before any of those technologies. Ancient humans survived through observation, cooperation, memory, and adaptation. They did not conquer dirty water or escape every disease. They simply became better at finding the least dangerous option available. And every glass of clean water today rests on that ancient struggle. Thanks for watching. If you learned something new about how our ancient ancestors survived, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring you more fascinating stories from humanity's distant past. See you in the next video.